The iPhone 15 Pro Max, the best of the best, most expensive iPhone that you can buy. I've been using it for 120 days straight to see how it holds up and if it's worth jumping up from options like the standard 15 or 15 Plus. So making this review, I had to really think about the key factors when buying any phone. So we've got battery life, camera jumping up to that Pro, and 3 new features that make it better than previous years. And the real question being, is it worth upgrading to when the general experience on this iPhone is so similar to that of previous years? The first thing I noticed with this phone was that it's stunning. It's obviously a very similar look to past iPhones, except with some slight tweaks. The body is now made out of titanium, giving it a brushed finish on the sides. The bezels on the screen are slimmer, which was immediately noticeable to me when I upgraded and really makes the screen pop that much more. The natural titanium really takes on a few different colors depending on the environment. So in cooler environments, it can look completely silver and looks really sharp. Not quite as bright as last year's white, but still good. But then in a warmer tone or outdoors, it takes on almost a champagne gold look, which looks amazing. A color shift that you're not really going to notice on any other colors of the phone. The phone is also light enough in color that it's hard to tell that there is slight wear and tear on the corner. Other than that, no noticeable wear and tear, no scratches on the screen. This is a really durable phone that I rarely even use cases on. And if you're new to the channel, I talk a lot about the iPhone 13 mini and how it's essentially the greatest iPhone that Apple ever created, and the one clear skepticism I got when making those videos was battery life. And rightfully so, because even though it got me through the day, it always seemed to get down to that last 10 or 20% by the end of the day, so it wasn't for the faint of heart. But that one clear downside gets dramatically solved with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. In my last 120 days, I struggled to even use 50% of the battery. In fact, most days I didn't even use 25%, which is wild to say considering I'm using at least 4 hours of screen time a day. Theoretically, that means my phone could last me up to 4 days of typical use, which is just nuts. And on that note, I'm not doing anything to improve the battery. I've still got my always on display enabled. I keep brightness up all day. I don't use low power mode or disable notifications. Even in the early days with overheating issues, this thing has been an absolute beast when it comes to battery. And quickly regarding the overheating issue, I was one of those people who heavily experienced overheating in the beginning, but in the past 120 days, that has mostly been resolved. I think it was originally incompatible with third-party apps that have since been updated, but the one area I'm still experiencing my phone getting hot quickly is when I'm using the camera or something with a LiDAR, which isn't that different from what I experienced on my 14 Pro Max. But speaking of the cameras, how much better are they? So on the 15 Pro Max, you've got 3 cameras on the back. Your main camera, just a normal one-time zoom with 48 megapixels. Then you've got a telephoto lens that goes up to 25 times zoom, then an ultra-wide camera at 0.5 times. Apple says you can change the focal length between 24, 28, and 35 millimeters, which is really just zooming 1, 1.2, and 1.5 times. But it still creates really sharp images at all of those lengths, and it's not just like a digital crop where you're losing a lot of quality. And together, all 3 cameras work together to give you essentially 7 different lenses in one. 0.5 ultra-wide macro, 0.5 ultra-wide 13mm, 1 times main at 24mm, 1 times main at 28mm, main at 35mm, the 2 times telephoto at 48mm, the new 5 times telephoto at 120mm, and that's all optical, not using digital zoom, meaning the photos will still be clear here. And by the way, you can take that last one up to 25 times digital zoom, but I mean, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Now, I know camera reviews get really complex, so that's why I'm trying to zoom through all of this. But to make things easier, I've got 2 notable things that the 15 Pro Max does better than anything I've ever seen. First, photos in low light are now much clearer than previous phones. With more megapixels packed in, it can capture more details and get a clearer photo than ever before. I also don't notice a lot of overcorrecting like I did on previous iPhones, where you take a photo and then open it in Photos, and it just looks completely different. They seem to have fixed that through updates. But the second thing that's incredible is the stabilization and quality when filming motion. I'm taking shots and it looks really rocky while filming, but when you play it back, it ends up looking absolutely incredible and stable. If you capture a lot of video, this one is worth the upgrade. So you'll notice the camera is definitely better, there's no denying that. But it's still better to keep your 14 Pro Max if you have one, and wait at least till the next generation of upgrades. So in this category I call new features, we've really only got 2. First, Apple ditched the Lightning port in exchange for USB-C. It's awesome, it's about time, and you may never use it. Second, brand new action button, also awesome, super helpful, and you'll probably forget you even have it. It's the power of marketing, right? There's a lot of new features, but Are you really going to use them that often after that first week? Probably not. I did another video showing you what you can do with USB-C, essentially changing the port to something that's more useful, faster transfer speeds, the ability to connect a hard drive directly to your phone, and then view the files in the Files app, hooking up a keyboard directly to your phone, connect to a monitor. There's a lot that it can do, but will you really use it? It's funny because this was a very practical move, but really, who cares if A, you don't have other USB-C accessories, which a lot of users don't, or B, you never plug anything into your phone anyway. I mean, these are the days of AirDrop for file transfer and MagSafe for power. Personally, I rarely plug my phone into anything, but for the power users who need to transfer a lot of files, this is helpful. For the brand new action button, I loved this when it came out. You can use it to toggle your ringer, open a specific app, and a lot of other default options. But what's interesting here is the use of shortcuts, which essentially lets you do anything you want with this button. I showed in another video how I created a Siri shortcut that changes what the button actually does based on the orientation. So if it's upright, it changes the ringer, but when it's sideways, it can open the camera. And the opportunities here are endless, but at the end of the day, I think most people are going to forget this button exists entirely. So if those are the only new features, is the iPhone 15 Pro Max really worth it for you? Well, it depends what you're upgrading from. In most cases, if you have a 13 or a 14, you're fine to wait till next year. But for everybody else, you're getting massive camera upgrades, an awesome battery packed in here, and a great new display and form factor, all of which I think make it an awesome upgrade. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.